Hey guys, CJ here, bringing you another edition of our Top 5 Tuesdays. Now, of course, this is not being released on a Tuesday, as you may well know. It's coming out on a Wednesday, and there's a very special reason for that. If you check the title of this video, it is the Top 5 Arrow Villains. Now, Arrow, of course, is the CW show that spun out the CW DC-verse, or just the CW-verse that is now kind of spun off into Flash and the Legends of Tomorrow, which is coming up hopefully very soon. I actually don't know when that's coming out. But kind of in honor of Arrow being back for Season 4, which was last week, we're going to be counting down the top Arrow villains that have showed up on this CW TV show. So without further ado, let's get started. Coming in our honorable mention slot is Amanda Waller. Now, the Wall has been oft imitated and never really seems to live up to her comic book counterpart. Unfortunately, this portrayal falls towards that end of the spectrum like so many others. However, Waller earns this spot because she still plays an important role in the CW-verse as the head of Argus and the head of the Suicide Squad. And most importantly, she's still kicking, which, can't be said for a lot of all these villains. Coming in at number 5, it's Brother Blood. And yes, a primary villain in Season 2, Sebastian Blood was a mayoral candidate with a dark secret who terrorized Starling City as Brother Blood. In a move shocking to all but the viewers, he actually managed to get elected before suckering the audience into a twist resembling that of The Dark Knight Rises, namely that the big bad isn't the big bad at all. And it turns out the man behind the entire plot was Slade all along, and getting Blood elected was just part of the plan, making Blood little more than a glorified henchman. Unfortunately for Sebastian, his tenure ended in failure and his own death at the hands of Slade's assistant and right-hand woman, I guess you could say, Isabel. An interesting side villain of Season 3 cracks this list in the form of Danny Brickwell, played by the Juggernaut bitch himself, Vinnie Jones. A bruising brawler of a Glades gang boss, Brick was also the person who sent Malcolm Merlyn on a spiraling villainous path by killing his wife in the Glades all those years ago. While he now languishes in a cell, Brickwell at least has the unique honor of being a villain saved by Oliver Queen, who convinced Malcolm Merlyn not to kill him in revenge. And coming in at number 3, it's Ras al Ghul. Oh, Ras, one of the prominent villainous figures of the DC Universe, did make an appearance on Arrow, and while it was short-lived, it was one of the show's real highlights last season. Ras, played by Matt Nable, firmly captured the honor and nobility at the center of the villain's character, and maybe portrayed it better than it had previously been done off the page. He also killed Oliver, kind of quote-unquote, as Oliver, of course, didn't stay dead, so more points for him. Unfortunately, Nable's Ras and his plan for cleansing Starling fell victim to Oliver like many of his fellow antagonists. However, unlike the top two on this list, he never really got his deserved share of the limelight. Coming in at number 2, it's Slade, and for a long time, Manu Bennett's portrayal of Slade, aka the man who would become Deathstroke, was the best thing about Arrow. A friend and ally of Oliver's on the island, Slade turned against him after the death of Shadow, a woman for whom they both had feelings. The Miracle-fueled super soldier took his biggest shot at Starling City in Season 2, when he tried to conquer the city with an army of super soldiers just like him. He failed, though unlike most of Oliver's top villains, he did not die in the attempt, and is still tucked snugly away in an Argus Supermax prison on the mysterious island where he first met Oliver. Coming in at number 1, it's Malcolm Merlyn, and he's really arguably the best villain the CW has put on screen so far, so it makes sense that he cracks the top spot on this list. Merlyn first burst onto the scene in Arrow's first season as a wealthy CEO and the father of Oliver's best friend Tommy, and his sister Thea, with a nefarious secret and plan. Trained by the League of Assassins, he plotted to destroy the Glades for the death of his wife nearly 20 years earlier, and, partially succeeding, handed Oliver his first major loss, though it cost him his own life, albeit only temporarily. In the time since, Malcolm has, of course, returned to life, and now heads the League of Assassins with the death of Ras in the last season, but is no longer truly an enemy of the Arrow, more like an uneasy ally. And it's going to get a lot more interesting come Season 2 because, of course, Damien Dark, who we know from the first episode has training from the League of Assassins, has shown up as the primary villain of this season. So it's going to be really crazy trying to keep track of what all goes down then. But, of course, I'm going to be tuning in. This season actually has a lot of potential in my eyes to kind of right the wrongs and maybe get this on track as like an actually, better show, more than the soap opera kind of stuff that's weighed it down in previous seasons. So, of course, that about wraps it up for me. Signing off, this is CJ, and I'll see you next time.